So now that you're in season, you spent the whole fall and winter lifting weights, doing sprints, doing plyometrics, working in your athleticism. Now the season starts. What happens to that program? For a lot of players, it just disappears. Quite frankly, long time ago, back when I was playing, high school baseball season was everything. So you put all your eggs in that high school basket. There was summer baseball, but nothing like it is now. Not as competitive, not as highly scouted. Fall baseball was almost non-existent. So you really took a break for everything to manage that high school season. That's not the case anymore. And we find a lot of players, once the season starts, they stop their lifting, they stop their conditioning, they stop a lot of their other work that's going on, which, look, rightfully so, you're in season. But what happens is, because the season is so long now, high school season turns into summer ball season, turns into fall and showcase season, meaning you're stopping your training, let's say, when tryouts, the third Monday in March, and you're beginning your training again October 1st once all your fall commitments are done. So you've gone 6 months and you've lost a lot of weight, you've lost a lot of muscle, you've lost a lot of different things that you don't get from your training. So it's kind of a two-part answer. Number one, you have to get that self-assessment to where you are as a player. If you're the starting shortstop and you're playing every day and your body's getting beat up, you may not need as much training or may not have the time. You definitely don't want to double fatigue your body. If you're a younger player, especially a younger player on varsity, and you can kind of tell that you're not playing much, or the plan is you're not going to play a ton your first year, maybe you can get more strength and conditioning training in on your own. Maybe you can get kind of simulate that game activity. And in that instance, you kind of want to stay in shape more than build strength and conditioning. If you have a strength and conditioning coach or if you have a strength and conditioning program, there can be a very definitive in-season program. Sometimes it's as simple as do the exact same program with 50% of the weight. Could be 25% of the weight. But the one thing you have to make sure of is that your muscles got that way for a reason. Your muscles are constantly being strengthened. They're constantly being fatigued. But to kind of to think that you're going to go into the season and give your muscles a rest, they're just going to slowly deteriorate. You're going to slowly lose muscle, slowly lose mass. And a lot of the young guys, are, because of their diet also, are going to start to lose weight. So you definitely have to have some form of an in-season lifting program. Granted, we're talking about the high school season right now, but it's going to have to continue for high school, summer, and fall. And again, it's strictly, for most players, a maintenance type program. But I've dealt with a lot of players, especially after last season, that did an amazing job in the off season, and the first thing they'll say is, I have to do something during the season, because they completely stopped. The urge can always be there to just want to do baseball, but with a baseball season so long now, you have to find time for some in-season conditioning. So starting in the fall, most hitters will sign up for individual lessons, start taking hitting lessons. They'll have captains practices. They may go to the cages with a family member. They may go to cages with friends. They'll hit off a tee. They do all these types of hitting drills. Now the season starts. Some things are going to be the same. Some things are going to be different. When you put live game pitching into the mix, everything can go out the window. It's not uncommon for a player to start his high school season Wednesday, play a game Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll hear from them on Friday, hey, can I do a lesson? Can I get back in the cages? That can be an instant reaction to a bad game or two. So I think it's important that as the season goes on, especially early in the season, like we've already talked about, if your playing time is inconsistent, you definitely want to try to work in some cage work or some technique work, but you have to make sure it's not reactionary. If you're going to plan on going to the cages once a week and continue to get some extra hitting in, do that whether you go 4 for 4 or 0 for 4. We tend to hear it from the players that are struggling. Players want, it seems from talking to all the hitting coaches, they get the phone call that, Coach, I'm 0 for my last 8, I need a lesson. But very rarely do we hear from the kid that says, Coach, I hit 2 home runs today, I need a lesson. So don't make that type of training reactionary. I'm a big video guy. With the technology, these camera phones now, I know a lot of people don't do it because they say they don't want to embarrass the player, but, you know, for me, get the phone out, zoom in close. We've been over this several times. Videotape all the players at bats, give them some feedback. That can save you a lesson or a trip to the cages. But knowing that the pitcher is designed to break down everything you've done this offseason, knowing our high school season, even a full high school season is still going to be a small sample, quite frankly. If you manage to get 60 or 70 at bats in a high school season, that's barely enough, I think, to really get honest feedback as to how your technique is working, how your off-season work has been implemented into the season. I think it's much too early to start saying, I need an overhaul, I need to change my swing, I need to change this and that. Sometimes it's just getting comfortable at the level you're at. I think hitters forget sometimes all the work they put in the offseason, the pitchers are putting in that work also. So the player you faced last year on the mound is probably better this year. He probably is stronger. He probably throws harder. So what you did last year to have success may not work as well this year. So I try to say to players all the time, always be assessing where you're at as a position player. Always, if you have video, take a look at your swing, compare it to old video. Know that it's going to be hard when you're facing live pitching, that everything's not going to go perfect, but it's not always a reason to run back to the cages and reinvent yourself. Sometimes just working your timing, getting your confidence back, getting back to some of those drills that made you successful in the first place can carry you through the season. But it definitely is a balancing act, and it's different for every player depending on what their off-season program was like and, quite frankly, what type of success they're having or not having during the current season. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know by leaving a like. If you have a question you'd like answered, please leave it below in the comment section. If you want to catch more of this content, make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Thank you. See you next week.